I'd like to call the council meeting to order, and good evening, councillors, staff, as well as our television and online viewers in Blind River. I would like to acknowledge that we are on Mississauga First Nation land. Prior to beginning this evening's agenda, I ask that each councillor who is present via this video conferencing to answer the roll call when I call your name. Councillor B. Dunbar.
Present.
Councillor J. Dunbar.
Present.
And Councillor Wells is absent and sends his regrets. Councillor Roy.
Present.
Councillor Posterero.
Present.
And Councillor Summers is coming in. She's just a touch late because of no internet where she lives. And we'll be talking about that tonight. And speaking of special people, tonight I would like to recognize the Town of Blind River's Treasurer, Sue Dent. Sue is the recipient of the 2020 Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario Engagement Award. The award is presented to members who actively participate in offering a strong Northern perspective and encouragement to others in the community to learn more about municipal finance. Sue Dent's enthusiastic and contentious networking at the annual conference and her committed participation in asset management are but a few attributes that contribute to this recognition. Sue, on behalf of Council and the residents of Blind River, congratulations on receiving the MFOA Engagement Award and for your passion and commitment in ensuring our community's finances are kept in check. And again, on behalf of us, congratulations. This Thanksgiving weekend will be different for many of us. With the provincial escalation of COVID numbers, we are told to be more diligent in social distancing, wearing masks, hand washing, and keeping numbers within the province's guidelines. I ask everyone to reach out via telephone to those who are spending Thanksgiving weekend alone. These are challenging times, and we hope that residents continue to stay safe and stay distant and stay healthy. At this time, I would like to acknowledge that our Deputy Mayor has joined us, and I understand, Deputy Mayor, that internet is a challenge for you. So welcome, and it's nice to see you in the council chambers. Nice to have some company. Now, without further ado, turning to tonight's agenda, and I have a motion moved by Councillor J. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Posterero. Be it resolved that Council approve the agenda and the addendum to the agenda as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And seeing no hands going up, I will assume there is none. I have a motion from Councillor Summers, seconded by Councillor B. Dunbar. Be it resolved that Council adopt the minutes of the regular Council meeting of September 21st, 2020, and the minutes of the special Council meeting of September 17th, 2020, as presented. All in favor of this motion? And that's carried. Thank you. And is there any business arising from those minutes? Councillor Roy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Under item number 7, I brought up that I was going to bring up a notice of motion regarding that. I think that I've gotten further clarification and I'm okay with the information I received, so I'm just going to let it go.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that. And we have no public presentations tonight, so moving on to agenda item number 9, introduction and consideration of administration reports. Our CAO clerk has given us a policy on sick leave procedures, and I have a motion from Councillor Dunbar, that's Councillor B. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Summers. Be it resolved that Council adopt the COVID-19 sick leave pay policy as presented. Discussion. Councillor Posterero.
I just had a few questions on some of them. I don't hope I'm not being operational, but it looks like the language needs to be tightened a little bit. For example, if it's saying that that there's a family member that is showing symptoms consistent with COVID-19, should it not say that and the person is required to be the care provider? Because basically, if you have anybody in your home that has symptoms, say one parent is staying home with a child and the employee doesn't need to stay home. So should it be amended to say that and they're required to stay home with that person?
And leave that to our CAO to respond to that.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The direction that we received from Algoma Public Health is we'd like to stop the spread completely. So if someone in their home has symptoms, we're requiring them or requesting that staff stay home until we know what those symptoms are. So if they're a general cold or if it is actually COVID. So we're trying to stop everyone in the department from becoming ill from a cold, then requiring testing, which then puts a backlog on the COVID-19 testing stations. So that was the direction that we had when we first brought the motion forward or the policy forward. However, if you would like that amended, we can amend it to state for caregiver purposes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's new information from Algoma Public Health because it runs contrary to the provincial recommendations. The only other thing is that when it says return to work, and it says that the member, that basically as long as they're at home for 14 days, if they test positive and they're symptom free, does it not require a negative COVID test to return to work? You're on mute, Katie.
That was what was discussed with staff, and that is the policy that we're following. I can add that in though, so that it's clear that they would need to receive a negative test.
Perfect.
And are there any other comments for discussion? So Councillor Postrero, what I've amended the motion to say, be it resolved that council adopt the COVID-19 sick leave policy, pay policy as presented with amendments. Does that meet your comfort level?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Just any of the ones that were kind of vague and saying if there's symptoms. So as long as they're required to stay home by the provincial authority and the Algoma Public Health, then yes, they definitely should be covered in pay.
And Ms. Scott, you have further comments?
Also, there will be a slight amendment as well with regard to the union. So this policy will go forward to the union, and it will be very clearly stated that this is during the pandemic and this is not an ongoing sick leave policy.
Duly noted. Thank you. And all in favor of this motion? And I'm going to have a challenge because I can't see our deputy mayor right now. There's a hand going up. Thank you. And that is carried. 9.2 from our CAO clerk with regards to the request from North Shore Health Network with regard to the fee waiver request, information on the senior center. I have a motion moved by Councillor Summers, seconded by Councillor Roy. Be it resolved that council follow the service delivery review recommendations in not offering a fee deferral for the senior center, and that the CAO be directed to correspond with the health network regarding this decision. Discussion. All in favor of this motion? And that's carried. Thank you. 9.3 from our treasurer with regard to future budget meetings. There were a number of meetings that were outlined at a future date. What we are hoping for is the 2021 budget to move in smoothly so that council doesn't have to approve every budgetary request going forward. I have a motion from Councillor Summers, seconded by Councillor Jay Dunbar. Be it resolved that the proposed schedule for the Budget Committee meetings be accepted. All in favor of this motion? And that's carried. And the 2021 Co-op Central Ontario Orthophotography Program, I have a motion from Councillor Posterero, seconded by Councillor Jay Dunbar. Be it resolved that Council authorize the CAO clerk to send a letter of intent to participate in the 2021 Co-op Imagery Update. Discussion? All in favor of this motion? And that's carried. Thank you. And under the service delivery review status, our CAO clerk has given us a process improvement update. Are there any questions for Ms. Scott at this time on the update? And seeing none, moving on to presentation of committee reports. I have a motion from Councillor Summers, seconded by Councillor B. Dunbar. Be it resolved that Council adopt the tax collection policy as recommended by the Corporate Services Committee. Discussion? All in favor of this motion? And that's carried. Thank you. And on the hiring policy and update, a motion moved by Councillor Summers, seconded by Councillor Posterero. Be it resolved that Council approve the revised hiring policy for the Town of Blind River as recommended by the Corporate Services Committee. Discussion? And Councillor Dunbar, followed by Councillor Jay Dunbar.
The hiring policy is great the way it is written. I think the only thing that needs to be added to it is something along the lines of some kind of mechanism put in there so that we don't get accused of nepotism and or just hiring friends and family from the public. There has to be something in there that addresses, you know, should it be friends or family that are being hired, then you know, that department head, or there just needs to be some kind of mechanism so that doesn't happen.
Okay, duly noted. And I'm getting a nodding head from our deputy clerk. Councillor Jay Dunbar.
Eggman. Yeah, you know, I didn't see anything or anything anywhere in the policy, you know, that would prevent also on the same line, the perception. And again, I call it perception of nepotism. You know, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus or pointing any fingers, but there's every one of us here, you know, on council, we're familiar when we have to declare a conflict of interest. And I'd just like to see an opportunity or an option for the hiring committee that they're able to do the same. So to having something in that effect with that policy, I think might go a long way with having confrontations. And I've had several of them over my last 6 years with individuals. And I had nothing in here, you know, to come back with. So I would agree if something could be looked at to implement into that policy along that line. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm just writing that down. The question would be then, be it resolved that Council approve the revised hiring policy to ensure, also to include nepotism duly noted for the Town of Blind River as recommended by the Corporate Services Committee. Is Council comfortable with that?
I don't think it's strong enough, Madam Mayor.
would you like this deferred and bring it back to the Corporate Services Committee?
I think, yeah, and if administration, they may have already have something along that line that they maybe could implement, or they might know on how they would want to implement it, because I do think that, you know, directors and chief administration people, they're probably doing the hiring. So I would just, you know, wanted to give them an out. Obviously, like, I wouldn't want to say, hey, my son was hired and I was on that committee. I'd like to bow out, or have an option to bow out, and the 2 or 3 other people on the committee can make the decisions on the most competent person that they're interviewing.
So I will ask the question, all in favor of deferring this motion? Okay, and that will be deferred and brought back to Corporate Services Committee for those revisions, recognizing the nepotism as part of that policy. Thank you. And with regard to the Blind River Chamber of Commerce social media proposal 2020, I have a motion from Councillor J. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor B. Dunbar. Be it resolved that Council accept the proposal from the Blind River Chamber of Commerce to manage the Blind River Tourism Instagram and Facebook pages created by the Blind River Development Corporation. Therefore, be it resolved that Council authorize the CAO to prepare a formal agreement with the Blind River Chamber of Commerce for the management of the Blind River Tourism social media pages, specifically Instagram and Facebook, per municipal social media policies. Discussion. Councillor Pastorero.
I just had one quick question. In their proposal, they were talking about a partnership with a specific photographer. I'm just wondering, would it not be open to all of our local photographers, as we have many amazing photographers? It had one person's name that they would work in partnership with. So I was just hoping it would be all of our photographers around Blind River.
And I thank you for your comments, Councillor Pastorero. I will ask Ms. Scott if she would answer that on behalf of administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to that, we use several photographers throughout the community, as well as posts that come in. As long as the pictures are of quality, they have been using more than one photographer. We would make that clear in the agreement that it would be for more than one photographer.
Opposed? I'm losing my internet connection, is saying it is unstable, so hang on a second. I'm going to ask that question again. All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Under unfinished business, there is none. Moving on to item 13.1, we had a motion supporting Starlink and a resolution. This is a long resolution, so bear with me while I read through it. Moved by Councillor J. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Pastorero. Whereas community and social and economic well-being is dependent on fast, reliable, and affordable broadband connectivity and better cellular coverage, and whereas municipal, provincial, and federal governments, as well as healthcare, education, and other sectors will continue to depend on the internet to communicate, provide services, and ensure accessibility to information, and whereas digital literacy skills are essential to collaborate, innovate, and compete both regionally and globally, and require appropriate and affordable broadband. And whereas the availability of broadband that is on par with larger urban areas in Canada is essential for Northern Ontario to achieve economic sustainability and social well-being. And whereas in 2016, the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, known as FNOM, requests that the internet be designated as an essential service, and those efforts are undertaken to ensure all municipalities have access to affordable, fast, and reliable broadband. And whereas the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, FONOM, agreed that an option to explore and hopefully support would be the Starlink program by SpaceX, therefore be it resolved that the town of Blind River agrees that the broadband is essential service and that the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, known as CRTC, should allow SpaceX and other private ventures to compete with those presently acting in the communication field as they have private financial ability to move forward. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Federal Minister of Science, Innovation and Economic Development, the Provincial Minister of Economic Development, Employment and Infrastructure, the Provincial Minister of Northern Development and Mines, the Canadian Radio, Television, Telecommunications Commission, CRTC, Northeastern MPs and MPPs, the leaders of the opposition parties, and the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. Discussion. Councillor Jay Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd be more than happy to sign my name in promotion of this, because this could be a real game changer down the road. The SpaceX, Starlink, this is one of the Elon Musk's company or subsidiary companies. And this guy has his own rockets. He's putting those satellites into the sky right now. And it's all whether or not we can convince the CRTC to award this company a license. This is what it's all boiling down to on that lengthy introduction of the resolution. And this, like I said, could be fantastic. And it, again, it's just another way to support, healthy competition that apparently seems to be lacking in the North. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunbar. Councillor Pastorero.
Thank you for our champion, Mr. Dunbar. It was definitely a strong voice for us fighting for broadband, but definitely support this motion. And just the fact is that they're not asking us for funds, they're just asking us for support, that this needs to be deemed an essential service. And the provincial government and the federal government are saying that there's lots of money for it, but now we need to see the action. So definitely I'm behind anything that's looking for equity for Northern Ontario communities when it comes to broadband.
Thank you, Councillor Pastorero. Are there any other comments for discussion? And all in favor of this motion? And that's carried. Thank you. And having a frozen internet is all the more reason why we need to make sure that we are getting broadband in the area. So I thank you for that. And moving on to correspondence and information, we have from the Huron North Economic Community Alliance a broadband update for September 2020. Are there any questions that Council has for the members of HENSI? And seeing none, we can move on. We have a letter from Cameco, Read the Library, and the COVID project, and $2,000 has been given from Cameco for that project. And thank you so much to Chris Astles as our outgoing manager of Cameco, and thank you to Cameco for once again supporting Blind River and our initiatives. We so appreciate that. Under notices of motion, I have a notice of motion from Councillor Jay Dunbar. The notice of motion reads to consider resolution number 20-147, Huron Shores Regional Broadband Community-Owned Network. Whereas Huron Shores Regional Broadband Community-Owned Network Group is moving to stage 2 of improving connectivity for Ontario ICON program for the Huron Shores and Manitoulin Community-Owned Fiber Infrastructure H&M Kofi Broadband Project. Therefore, be it resolved that Council reconsider support in principle for Huron Shore Regional Broadband Community-Owned Network to improve the internet service available in Blind River and surrounding areas. And this will come back as an agenda item at our next council meeting. So thank you for that, Councillor Dunbar. Are there any other notices of motion? And seeing none, we'll move on to the introduction and consideration of bylaws. I have a motion from Councillor Posterero, seconded by Councillor Roy. Be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and CAO clerk to sign bylaw number 20-39, being a bylaw of the corporation of the town of Blind River to deem a registered plan of subdivision not to be a registered plan of subdivision, was passed in open council this 5th day of October 2020. And discussion? All in favor of this motion? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. I have no council reports or announcements. I do have an addendum to the agenda. Sorry? I have no council reports or announcements. Yeah. I do have an addendum from Councillor Jay Dunbar. And this is on the addendum. It is with regards to Leapfrog. And the motion reads, moved by Councillor Jay Dunbar, seconded by Councillor B. Dunbar. Be it resolved that council support in principle the preliminary investigation of technology with Leapfrog Solutions, and that the CAO be authorized to engage with Leapfrog Solutions to better understand the scope of the work and requirements of council, and that the CAO will report back to council with findings. Discussion. Councillor Jay Dunbar.
Thank you, Mayor Hagman. Yeah, I'm going to keep it sweet and short, but I want to start off with the comment that the HENSI subcommittee, BAC, the Broadband Advisory Council, they've been working very diligently to understand, the current state of the infrastructure of broadband in this area, the available technology, and the business models, including but not limited to the community-owned network that Huron North is engaged with right now, and that would be the Huron Shore and Manitoulin Island community-owned fiber infrastructure project. Okay, now with that being said, recently in a Sioux Today article, Premier Ford was commenting on, and he said he's talked to the CEOs of Bell, Rogers, Telus, all the large guys. And they've come up with some sort of, I don't know where they get the number, but they've come up with a number that to do Ontario, and that's basically Hudson Bay when I'm talking about to Windsor, they're talking somewhere in between 10 to 15 billion dollars to install this infrastructure. Well, we're looking at about going a different way, maybe more on a local scene, and utilizing newer technologies and some newer, younger companies. Thus, this Leapfrog Solutions. They were awarded the Sengen funding, and they've established a test trial up in Iron Bridge. And Sengen, before I lose everyone, is the Center of Excellence in the Next Generation Network. And they're up in Iron Bridge doing a trial start. They basically were saying that if we were able to afford them a POP, a point of presence, and a tower that we could utilize here in our area, we possibly could have a trial here for ourselves, for our municipality, and actually at no cost or near no cost, as far as I know, to the community. And thus the addendum that I'm asking administration maybe to touch base with the George Chris, I believe is one of the fellows from Leapfrog, and if that's all he's looking for, maybe we can possibly get our own little trial here in Blind River. And in saying that, I'm not going to get into any of the details or the technology, but it seems to be working. Some of the trial runs up in Iron Bridge, they're able to get our speeds of 50, 10, and sometimes exceeding that. But I'm really, what I really like to see is our rural residents, our Carla's Lanes, our River Roads, our Matanindas, all those areas. If for any reason that we can help to promote this here trial, to the fullest extent that we can, and if it's successful, I'm not saying it's the end all for all, but I think I would love to see our administration touch base with this company so that we could move on to our next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunbar. Are there any questions on this motion? I think all of us are looking forward to a day when broadband is something that is just a reality in our lives, and it's nice to know that the province, if not the country, is on board. Councillor Jay Dunbar, you had another comment?
Yeah, I think we might have had a discussion earlier on this. With the way everything is going and all the monies that you've just suggested is being put out there, it's just that it's such a daunting and confusing spectacle right now. Like, how do you go about it? Who do you talk to? What ISPs do you choose? I mean, there's so much. And it's too bad that the province or the federal didn't have forefront people, like frontmen, that we could deal with or talk with besides a minister, trying to get an ear of a minister. Then again, we do have MPs and MPPs that should be able to have those conversations for us. But it's like the wild, wild west right now, and everybody's vying for a piece of that action. So kudos to us, and kudos to Leapfrog and Hensi and the BAC and everyone who's out there promoting this.
And while we're giving kudos, let's give kudos to our CAO, who will be reporting back to council with the findings. Thank you. All in favor of this motion? And opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. And now we will be moving into the closed session of the meeting. I have a motion moved by Councillor Roy, seconded by Councillor Posterero, that be it resolved that council go into a closed meeting at 7:33 p.m. in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act in order to address matters pertaining to personnel and offer to purchase. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Blind River. We will be back following the closed session of this meeting. I will ask council to sign off of this network and resume on the next Zoom network. Thank you. Welcome back, Blind River. We are now back in open session, and council discussed matters relating to personnel and committee appointments, as well as an offer to purchase. And I have a motion from Councillor Roy, seconded by Councillor Jay Dunbar. Be it resolved that council appoint the following individuals to the Community Improvement Plan Committee for the remainder of the 2020 and 2021 year. Garnet Young and Councillor P. Summers and Councillor B. Dunbar. And all in favor of that motion? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Next, I have a motion from Councillor B. Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Roy. Be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and CAO clerk to sign bylaw number 20-40, being a bylaw of the Corporation of the Town of Blind River, to adopt the minutes of the meeting of October 5th, 2020 was passed in open council this 5th day of September of October. You're tripping me up here, of October 2020. All in favor of this motion? And carried. Thank you. And last but not least, I have a motion from Councillor Roy, seconded by Councillor Pastorero. Be it resolved that council adjourn at 8:11 p.m. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you soon.